going on, guys? Murph's YT13 back again with another Raw review. And before I start, I just want to mention a little bit of cross-promotion here. I know a lot of you, you're obviously wrestling fans. I mean, that's obvious. You're here. I implore you to go and check out my brand new series, which is WWE MyCareer. Now, I know you're like, okay, you know, Denk, he does a great MyCareer. You know, CM Pulse, he's doing his thing on WWE 2K16. I implore you, please go and check mine out. I think it's great, and I'm not afraid to blow my own horn to say that I think it's great. I put a lot of work into it, and I think it's a lot different than the usual. It's not just a playthrough. There's different kind of storylines. I'm sort of, you know, changing it up a little bit. So, first of all, I implore you, please go check out that series. Maybe even just after the Raw review, or go do it now if you didn't like Raw and you don't really want to hear me ramble on about it. But let's get into Raw. I thought this was a really, really good show, man, and we opened the show with Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns came out. I still think Roman Reigns is better if he's just silent, but he came out. They insist on bringing him out. They insist on forcing his promos on us, but this was short. It was sweet. It was concise. I'm pretty interested in Survivor Series. I think the whole aim of this show was probably just to make Survivor Series feel a little bit more special, because it's really been on the back burner. Survivor Series used to be massive, and it used to be a really big deal when it would come around, and I'm liking the way this show is really shaping up. I think it's great, and I'm excited for Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. And I've said it before, I would not be surprised if Roman Reigns walks out of Survivor Series with that title and he goes on a tear towards WrestleMania. So basically what was set up in this segment was a little bit of build towards the Survivor Series main event, and they set up a traditional Survivor Series match for later on in the night. So that was good. I mean, things like that, it's sort of similar, you know, to last week where they had all the matches so you could finally get somewhere. So you had a story throughout the night. I don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, they set it up, and there's intrigue surrounding who was going to be on each team. Basically, there was Team Rollins and Team Reigns, and who's going to be on each team, and we found out later on in the night. So, we opened the show, wrestling-wise, and this was a pretty wrestling-heavy show. We opened it with Dolph Ziggler versus my boy Kevin Owens. Everybody knows, if you've ever listened to any of my reviews, Kevin Owens is my favourite wrestler in the world, and Dolph Ziggler is right up there as well. So, I was pretty happy. And this was a great match. I thought these two really did a great job, and I really, really enjoy the Tyler Breeze angle. He comes out, he's arrogant. People are still warming to him, but trust me, once this guy actually wrestles and he actually puts on a match with Dolph Ziggler, they are going to tear the house down. Because I thought, just a little side note of this match, it's great. I think you should go and watch it. It's a great use of Kevin Owens, putting him in these big matches. You know, he was on the first and the last match on the card, so they're finally, you know, sort of realising. I don't know if they're finally realising. I'm sure they knew the whole time, but sometimes they can get a little bit cloudy with the way they book some of these wrestlers. But this was great, and go back and watch the match. And you know, the fact that Kevin Owens won, this is what I'm talking about. This is great. Kevin Owens beats Ziggler. And it was, you know, slightly off the distraction. Well, not slightly. It was off the distraction from Breeze. So it builds the tension between it. You know, I hate distraction finishes, but I think in the right instance, you know, particularly with Breeze being so cocky at you know, taking a selfie and that sort of thing of Ziggler and Owens, I think it works. So pretty happy with the way this went down, and I think Prince Pretty, he's coming off as a star, and that's important. And Ziggler, his babyface in peril sort of style, I think he's the best in the company at it, and he did a great job. Kevin Owens is a great heel as well. He's really great at not giving the fans what they want, but in turn, that makes them love him more. So it's difficult to be a heel these days. It really is. After that, we had Cesaro versus The Miz, and man, Cesaro was super over. I don't understand. You know, Vince McMahon, those infamous words on the podcast, you know, maybe it's because he's Swiss or something, they will really come and bite Vince McMahon in the ass, particularly if he doesn't give Cesaro what he deserves. And that's sort of a main event spot, I think. I think Cesaro, and he said the millennials, they don't want to reach for the brass ring and all this other garbage. Cesaro, man, seriously, his wrestling alone just gets him over, and I thought he looked absolutely phenomenal here against Miz, and he obviously won, but Miz, he's lost a lot of credibility, Miz, but I think he's good in this spot, and he's good as a representative for the company. He'll go and do all of those media events that nobody wants to do, and I think he's got a nice little spot, Miz. But beating Miz doesn't really elevate you. But I thought Cesaro, it did elevate him because of his performance, because of how dominating he was and how over with the crowd he was. It was great. I loved it. After that, we had Bray Wyatt. I don't really know what to say about this. I know, I read on Twitter that a lot of people, they loved it. All of this hokey sort of, D-level horror film sort of special effects. It's not for me. I think it felt very 80s, very 80s, sort of early 90s WWE, and I think it took a lot of, because I think Bray Wyatt has quite a serious message, and I think he does better when he has a serious message. And this, for me, I just, I understand that you have to suspend your disbelief with WWE at times, but this is just, I don't know, it takes me right out of it. I like realism in professional wrestling, and this is just none of that. But I do like the way they're going, the way that they can associate Bray Wyatt with The Undertaker without The Undertaker actually having to be there, So I am enjoying the angle, but just for me, I just think I don't know, it fell a little bit flat, with the summoning of the lightning and all this other crap. But look, good for what it was, and I'm sure the kids loved it. Anyway, it is what it is. After that, we had Lucha Dragons versus King Barrett and Sheamus. I'm glad they've put King Barrett and Sheamus together, but I just wish they dropped the king shit with Wade Barrett. Just call him Wade Barrett and Sheamus. I don't know if they have a name. Do they have a name? Are they the European something or other? European Union or something? I don't know. I thought it was a good match, though. And the Lucha Dragons actually, surprisingly, got the win. Kalisto looked $1 million. That's the spotlight Kalisto needs to be in. The House of Fire comeback, Sin Cara. There was no Sin Cara botches, which is generally a staple for most Lucha. What are they called? Lucha Dragons. That's generally a staple for a lot of Lucha Dragons matches. But no, this was good. This was really good, and huge upset win for the Lucha Dragons, which is what they need. They need some steam. And I'm glad they're putting some emphasis on the tag team division, particularly with what happened later on in the night with the Usos. This is great. I think making the tag team division really, really super strong is very, very smart, in my opinion. And it gives guys like Barrett and Sheamus, who are sort of treading water for a while, even though Sheamus is the Money in the Bank holder. He seems to be treading water. I mean, usually, you think back to Seth Rollins when he had the Money in the Bank, and that was, some of his best stuff. So, Sheamus, I mean, obviously they don't have any faith in him. I'm sure they're ruining the decision to put it on him. I mean, you could have very easily gone with Neville, and Neville could be still carrying around that briefcase and having great matches, but whatever. I mean, WWE, in my opinion, they screwed up there. After that match, we had R-Truth versus Alberto Del Rio, and at the back we got, I'm not sure if it was before or after this match or whatever, I think it might have been before, we saw Jack Swagger for the first time in 6 months, and he looked cool. Swagger, I think he was still wearing the We the People shirt. I think it looked a bit sad, to be honest. I mean, it seemed a really strange use for Jack Swagger, but I was glad to see him back, because I am actually a fan of Jack Swagger. I think he's a phenomenal wrestler, and he has everything. He has all the tools, maybe except for the promo. He has all the tools to be a big star, and they tried to push him as a big star. but it just didn't work, and now he's sort of lost all credibility. I'd actually really like to see Jack Swagger go to a Ring of Honor, go and wrestle some shows at PWG or whatever. I don't reckon PWG would probably have him, but maybe even go to Japan, wrestle for Noah or New Japan or something like that. I think he's got some use, but the WWE, they don't like letting these guys go, do they? I mean, they keep these guys hanging around. I mean, where the fuck is Damien Sandow? This is my thoughts on Alberto Del Rio. When he came back, his first 2 weeks, absolutely phenomenal. Well, his first week, I think, because he came back, so his first week, absolutely phenomenal, man, and he is ripped. He looks great. Alberto Del Rio's come back with a point to prove. He looks fantastic. But the way the WWE have booked this is really, really strange to me, because you've got Alberto Del Rio paired with Zeb Coulter. People have been trained not to like Zeb Coulter, and they've been, but they've still, you mix that with the dynamic of Del Rio's big return, which is always going to get a big pop. People are happy to see him back, so they don't want to boo him unless he does something dastardly, which he hasn't done. All he's done is just be an absolute badass in the ring and whip ass. So you mix Zeb Coulter, who people have been trained not to like, and with Del Rio, who they want to like, and so you book him as a heel and a face, and he comes out to silence, which is the death knell. That's the absolute last thing you want, is silence. So I think he's in a weird spot at the moment, Del Rio. They need to go one way or the other. For me, personally, I'd have him turn on Zeb Coulter and say, look, Mex America is an absolutely ridiculous idea. I'm for non-discrimination, whatever. Do something. Super kick Zeb, get him out of the way, bring Swagger back if you have to pair him with Zeb again, and have Del Rio steamroll Swagger. And he goes on and he's the US champion, and put him in another program. Mex America is stupid, and I think it's ridiculous. I don't think Del Rio should have to have a race angle in everything. I don't know why he can't just be a badass ass kicker. I know all the stuff with Donald Trump. I said it last week. All that stuff with Donald Trump, they're trying to have their finger on the pulse of today's issues, but for me, I'd just scrap it. I think Mex America is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's going to get over as a joke. You heard JBL talking about it, that WWE Network's available in Mex America and all this sort of thing. But anyway, this match was a squash match essentially, and the crowd was absolutely flat for it. So, I mean, this is, you get what you're given, and you get what you put down. Unfortunately, the work you put in is what you get back, and the work they've put in with Del Rio, I think, has been a little bit convoluted. Anyway, after that, we had Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks versus Paige versus Brie Bella. This was a pretty good match. I didn't mind it at all. I tweeted out I thought this was going to actually steal the show, and it went a fair way to doing that, man. These girls, finally, we have a clear-cut number one contender for Charlotte, and finally there's some issues starting to branch out in the Divas division, which I think is good. Paige obviously wins the match, and Sasha Banks look really strong as well. So you've clearly got, you got Paige, you've got Becky Lynch. I think Brie Bella, a little bit of an afterthought again. I do feel for that girl a little bit. I know she's the worst wrestler probably of the whole Divas division, but well, that's probably a bit harsh actually. Let me know what you think in the comments. Where does Brie Bella rank in the Divas division? I don't rate her very highly personally, but Paige gets the win. It looked like Sasha Banks was going to win with the bank statement. Paige gets the win. Fantastic. I thought this was a good use. It's too early for Sasha Banks versus Charlotte. That's the real money feud. They're the money matches, and I think it'll be Sasha Banks versus Charlotte at WrestleMania for the Divas Championship, and I think that'd be a good time to throw that butterfly belt in the bin and bring in a new title with Sasha Banks. And I think that should be the way it goes. I think Sasha Banks should beat Charlotte for it at WrestleMania, and she should throw that title in the bin, in the river, wherever. But this was good, and I'm liking the direction. It's more of a Divas Revolution when you give them a ton of time to have a really kick-ass match. So well done. I applaud the WWE on that. After that, we had Team Reigns versus Team Rollins, and this was a really good match. This was another good Raw, man. I was absolutely wrapped with this episode of Monday Night Raw. I'm actually really liking the direction they're going. They're focusing on the young guys because they've been forced to. With John Cena not there, Randy Orton not there, you have to go with Kevin Owens. And look what's happening. They're enjoyable shows. They're enjoyable matches. It's wrestling heavy, which I like. Which is funny, and I tweeted this out as well. It's really funny that actual wrestling makes the show entertaining, because what are we? We're actually wrestling fans, guys, and we like wrestling. So, if there's good matches with compelling storylines on the side, when you don't feature the storylines as purely 15-minute talking segments, and you make it a talking heavy show and, vignettes and all that sort of thing, when you settle things in the ring, that's when you really start to build some feuds, because the fans, they get behind the action, and this is one of the most talented rosters the WWE have ever had in ring. And why not use that, man? That bell to bell is, I think JR says it, bell to bell is where their big strength is. And you've got your clear cut champions. I think we've got really, really good champions, with Del Rio, Owens and Rollins being all the singles champions at the moment, and of course Charlotte in the Divas division as well. I'm really liking the direction the WWE is going. This match was fantastic. Lot of action. Team Reigns defeats Team Rollins. Interesting finish interesting way Kevin Owens got Kevin Owens versus Dean Ambrose. When Kevin Owens was getting really vicious with Dean Ambrose, like screaming at him and all that sort of thing. Hopefully that builds to a Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens feud. Man, that would be awesome. I think that would be awesome, and I think it's smart that they've sort of gone in a different direction with Ryback, because I was a big advocate for that early, but yeah, now I'm not so sold on it after their match at Hell in a Cell. But this was great. Team Rollins goes down, but looks strong. Rollins, obviously he's a cowardly sort of heel, and when Kevin Owens had Dean Ambrose and he's like, do something, hit him, do something quickly, do something, and then he gets knocked off the apron and Kevin Owens gets eliminated. Fantastic way to do it. And this match as a whole and the show as a whole was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually, that's 2 weeks in a row that I've really enjoyed Raw. And great, man, great. I'm loving the direction the WWE is going, featuring the young guys, featuring Wyatt's, featuring Reigns, featuring Rollins, Owens, Cesaro, gets a good win. Fantastic episode of Raw. Absolutely no complaints. I like the wrestling, and I hope this continues. WWE, for me, certainly in my household, has a lot of momentum at the moment. I hope they can keep it going. But that's going to do the Raw review for this week, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. And as always, from YT13, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you go and check out WWE MyCareer. It's over on my channel. Make sure you drop a like on that, and let me know what you guys think. As always, from YT13, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.